Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd.
This astrology report is for the week of May 28th, and then we're going to be cruising into the month of June, and the astrology there. There is a lot to talk about in the show today, as that just seems very appropriate for Gemini season. Of course, just lots of ideas, lots of mental stuff going on. And I just want to start out actually by taking a step back and correcting myself from last week. I was talking about Jupiter moving into the next sign. Jupiter just left Taurus, moved into Gemini. And this is going to be over a year that Jupiter is going to be in Gemini. I had misspoken, said that it was going to be just a month. And so actually Jupiter spends a year in every sign. And so we'll see a retrograde in Gemini, and actually not going to be moving out of Gemini until in June of 2025. So this is the beginning of sort of a coloring of the year. And when Jupiter goes into any sign, it expands the energy there. So all of the Gemini people are receiving a big expansion. They're receiving more opportunities than ever. And Jupiter is also the sign of good luck. And so there's just a lot of good luck available for folks with Gemini points and planets. Check out your astrological birth chart and see which part of your life is going to be expanded by Jupiter over the next year in Gemini. And Jupiter just joining into that Gemini party, the Sun and Venus both traveling very close together, and then Jupiter moving into Gemini, all three of those entities there, and not going to be alone for very long. Mercury going to be catching up shortly, and we'll be chatting about that also. So this week though, we have the last few days of May to wrap up here, and Gemini season always wants to come in really fast and take over and have just a lot of ideas, and all those mental things I was chatting about just come in with Gemini. Gemini actually rules the throat chakra also, so lots of talking and communicating and sharing and relationships. It's an air sign, so all air signs rule relationships. Gemini is that one-on-one relationship. This is where twins are lit up, and soulmates, and people in contractual agreement, business partners, kind of one-on-one relationships are really ruled by Gemini. And so lots of communication in these tight relationships. Gemini is also the sign that brings everything in double, because Gemini is represented by the twins. That's the mascot, if you will, a pair of twins. And Gemini is the only sign that's represented by multiple things, and comes in this pair. And so with Gemini, things are always done in twos, in double. So you can find over the next month, while the Sun and other personal planets are moving through Gemini, just having to redo things twice over. And so watch for that. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing to go back and have another swing at things, but that can also be just adding to the busyness of Gemini season and what this energy has to bring. This is definitely a place where we can make those good corrections that second time over, though, if needed. Gemini also just brings in so much activity. So it can be almost too much at times. So we have to kind of pace ourselves when we're moving through this also. So it's kind of just my overview notes for what we're moving into. And then this week, the last few days of May, we get to kind of wrap up this time with a few conjunctions between planets that have been building up, and we get to work with Mars conjunct Chiron first on May 29th, although all three of these conjunctions are basically happening right now and are taking place over the course of the week all together. On the 30th, Mercury is in a conjunction with Uranus, and on June 1st, I'm just including that in this last of May wrap-up energy, is the Sun conjunct with Venus. And so we'll chat about each of these a little bit. Mars and Chiron. This is Mars, our physical body, and Chiron is our immortal wounds. These are the things that we thought we would never get over. These are the things that over the course of our life, Chiron, we deal with them. Maybe even over the course of all of our different lifetimes, we bring these wounds into this life with us so that we can work with them. And then the idea is that we then become a master of that and heal ourselves, and then begin to also show others around us, people dealing with similar things, also how to master that and then move through it and integrate it and continue passing along the gift of healing and integration. Mars can push us into an uncomfortable place, actually, at times. It can actually exacerbate things. So if you have physical ailments, and you are feeling exacerbated, this too shall pass. Our physical body can definitely feel this and then have a healing really quickly too. So just stay in it. It's happening in the sign of Aries, and Mars rules Aries, and so this could be very fast moving energy, as those are just quick moving. They make up their mind and it's done without thinking too much about it. And this is actually a theme that's being sort of emulated in the next sign over of Taurus, Mercury making a conjunction with Uranus. This is also very spontaneous, surprising, sort of triggering energy. There's a lot of nervous energy that can come along also with Uranus. Mercury, already a fast-moving, quick communicator, going to be very much in tune with keeping things flowing and keep the conversation going. And Uranus keeps our nervous system really stimulated. So there could be a lot of need to talk things out and just really kind of let ourselves talk, just kind of open your mouth and let it flow. This is also where you can also do some type of divination work or channeling. People that are channelers, I feel like Uranus can just bring in that electrical energy that it takes to communicate there. And Mercury is fast moving right now. Mercury is finishing up time in Taurus and going to be moving into the home sign of Gemini. So our mind, our communication is sort of smelling the barn right now. It's like, oh, my home is just right there. It's just right there. My comfy place is right there. I'm almost there. So that is the energy in our communication right now. And then that conjunction of the Sun and Venus. This is not totally rare, and those other two conjunctions this week are not totally rare. rare either. Like these happen every year or so. Mars moves a little bit slower, so every couple of years comes into that conjunction with Chiron. But Mercury, Venus, they'll travel around the zodiac in a year and make contact with all the other outer planets. And the Sun and Venus have a really interesting cycle that they go through where they make conjunctions. And this one is in Gemini. We have this area of our chart being lit up right now, as I mentioned, with Jupiter, Mercury going to be moving there soon, and then this Venus-Sun conjunction. This is where our personal identity gets a little love blast. This is where our own personal ego and the things that we strive for and our focus in this life gets a blast of love, money, total pleasurable things. Venus, she rules all of those things, and she also rules our relationships. So this can bring big love blasts into our relationships and also our relationship with ourself and our own identity and our own life and our own ego. So that's on June 1st, but again, kind of feeling all of those conjunctions all this week. So if I was to kind of tie those together for a central theme of the week, I mean, Mars+Chiron is healing our immortal wounds. Mercury, Uranus is bringing change into the conversation. And then Venus and the Sun are just bringing major love blasts into the self and reminding us of all the good things that are in our life. And so, those seem like all pretty good things to me, and I can see how they might tie together in certain situations, and that is for you, to take and see how that sort of fits into your life. And as we move into the month of June, there is a lot going on in June. Lots of planetary changes, lots of action. We have the new moon in Gemini in the beginning of the month on the 6th, and then the full moon in Capricorn on June 21st. And so we're building into that latter part of the month with the full moon. And before we get there, moving back, Mercury enters Gemini on June 3rd, joining that party and bringing our mind and our mental state there, coming home. The new moon in Gemini is in the early morning hours on June 6th, and this is where we plant seeds. So if things have been a little scattered in the first couple weeks of Gemini season, it's been hard to, find that central theme. It's like, well, that's there and that's there and that's there, and it's been kind of hard to pull things together. Then at this new moon in Gemini, this is the grounding point. This is where we get to pull those themes together and then internalize them and plant new seeds moving forward. So Gemini, again, is all about finding your soulmate, but also allowing yourself to communicate in ways that you need to, with that throat chakra being lit up. Gemini is also rules the hands, and so this is a good time for projects that engage your hands, writing, obviously, but like sculpting or anything with your hands is what Gemini is good for. So you can go to those things within the new moon, that if you're still trying to pull all those themes together through maybe like some type of sculpture that you channel in, or starting to work on a project without like the end in mind and allowing your intuition to sort of show you the way, that seems like a really fun activity for the new moon in Gemini. And then on June 9th, Mars moves into Taurus. So this is our physical body again, moving into an earth sign out of a fire sign. This is going to be very grounding. Mars has been in the home sign of Aries for a couple of months by the time that he leaves. So fired up from the home and coming into a grounded state here in Taurus. We can kind of gather that masculine fiery energy that Mars has and sort of ground it a little bit. Find those resources and those tools for moving your physical body forward is what Mars and Taurus is going to be able to give us opportunities to work with. And then the second week in June, a little quiet, but then we move to June 17th, and Venus starts the movement of the personal planets into Cancer. Cancer is a water sign and is the sign for the mother and the womb and the home and security and safety. And Venus is very much into this feminine energy that Cancer has to offer. She is ready for, Cancer comes after Gemini. And when the planets move into Cancer, they're ready for a break. They've had a lot of action in Gemini. There's been a lot of ideas and conversations and mental stuff going on. And so by the time they just kind of get to land in that nice, warm, woomy, just imagine kind of that dip in the hot tub that you get. And it's just like, I've been waiting to just kind of dip in here and let it all go. That's what Cancer is going to really have to offer for us come June 17th. Also, Mercury that same day moving into Cancer. So come the third week of June, we're going to start to see some of that rest and relaxation in our future as Gemini season provides so much activity. And then the Sun moves into Cancer on June 20th. That is the official start to Cancer season. That's midsummer, Lithia, the summer solstice. This is the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's a day to be celebrated, to be outside, to be inspired by the sun and the heat, and to allow that to just penetrate in and be at the top of your own world and of your own game there. And then, of course, with Cancer, it's finally the busy month of June is kind of coming to an end and waning, and we get to relax a little bit. And the full moon in Capricorn is the next day. That is June 21st, and this is in the evening at 6 p.m. on the Pacific West Coast. Capricorn is the ambitious energy of the zodiac. This is a career-oriented energy. This is where we actually become the most responsible versions of ourselves. So at the full moon in Capricorn, we are generally tending to something that we know we need to take responsibility for, although full moons can be this culmination point where things actually become too much, or they kind of pop, and so we can have experiences that challenge us within terms of our responsibilities and the serious things in our life, the things that we need to be ambitious about. Yes, there's been a lot of fun and games in the first of in Gemini season, and the first of spring just feels so festive, and there's a lot of fun energy to be had. And then there's kind of this point where it's like, okay, but the crops are planted and all the creative stuff of getting the garden going down. Now I just need to buckle down and water every day and be on this routine and be responsible for this, right? So that full moon in Capricorn is gonna be begging us to finally set up that timer water system for the garden and just be responsible about it. And we're going to be feeling responsibilities just in general, because at the end of the month, Saturn, the planet that rules Capricorn, going to be stationing retrograde. And so when we have planets stationing either direct or retrograde, we feel them strongly. Saturn's the planet of responsibility. So this is going to be retrograding at 19 degrees of Pisces, and in retrograde through the middle of November. Going to be moving back to 13 degrees. So again, look in your birth chart, see where 13 to 19 degrees of Pisces are for you. This is the theme you're going to be working on between June 29th and November 15th for the Saturn retrograde. So that ends the month of June in terms of the astrology here in the cosmic community, what I've been able to pick out and tell you today. So I will be back next week. I hope that was helpful for you, and thank you so much for being tuned in. Thank you. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.